Hey guys, I'm just getting a jam in here. Oh, not going live on there. All right, hold on. That's if you guys are there. I didn't. For some reason, I didn't set up the space. I think somehow, and so we're just kind of backtracking a little bit. Okay, here we go. This should get me going. And yeah. Good evening.
How are you?
Doing good. So did I actually create that space or did I space it?
Someone created it just like 1 minute before, I think.
Okay, that was me then. I must have not. I create the Saturday and the Monday one back to back. I have been for a couple weeks and I must have totally missed that one.
Well, did you create this one or?
Yeah. I mean, I looked I always get the link from the main Twitter account. And I went there and I was like, oh no, there is no space.
So but then you made it real quick, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was looking, I was like, oh, it's not in here. I was literally about to just make one.
Right.
And then I literally was like, oh, I bet Banana just is making one right now and it's going to appear here in the day. So.
That's why I reached out to you because I didn't want us to, you got to get our wires crossed. So, well, good.
Yeah. I was like, he's for sure like getting his YouTube set up and he's going to be trying to hop on. He's going to notice it's not there. He's going to scramble and make one real quick and then I'll just use that one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, well, other than that, are you doing good too?
Yeah. Same. Another day. Same old, just busy at work and happy to be getting through some of these things with work. And
yeah.
I went to my kid's preschool orientation today, which was he's my oldest, which is still very young.
Right.
So that was a little mind blowing, sitting there with all the other parents and listening to all that. It's just gosh, time's flying by.
Yeah, welcome to fatherhood. That's cool. It's like, what was reality setting in on you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Definitely kind of weird, just looking at the classrooms, it kind of reminds you of when you went to school too, all the colored classroom doors.
Oh yeah.
So
the teachers really decorate things up for the kids. So, well, that's cool. That's fun. Kids are fun. And so is crypto. I mean, sometimes I'm doing some of this crypto stuff for my kids, man. My kids are all, one is barely out. Well, mostly out. And she's back at school. Actually, she left yesterday. But, I'm thinking of, you are too, I know, thinking about your kids and all of this, but I'm also, thinking about mine. Nothing new, I guess. Everybody's thinking about family members and especially the heirs, and one of the things I'm working through is I don't want to wreck my kids, so I'm just keeping it all private from them. Is I'm not going to, I have a buddy. He's a multi-millionaire. He married into wealth. And I mean, if you saw his house, you're like, yeah, man, he's got it. Right. But he's smart. His kids, at least his son, I don't know about the daughter, but his son, when he graduated high school, his first job was working down at the Mini Mart gas station down here, just up the road. And he worked there for probably a year or more. And my buddy's like, yeah, my son is going to learn how to work and how to make a living. He's not going to, mooch off of his dad and just have an easy life and be good for nothing. He's going to learn how to work first. And now the son inherited the house they turned it into like a fishing lodge, and he's working it and he's making a living.
That's sweet. Does he live in it too?
Yeah, or he lives. I think he and his wife, they might live in it, or they might live on the same property. It's a huge multi-acre, lodge. I mean, literally built out of logs. His yeah. I don't want to take up too much of the airtime, but beautiful place. Privileged family that they get to own that and work it.
Yeah, I think I got what you were saying though. Like even with all of us having kids at different points in life, or some of us not having kids and maybe going to have it one day, just depending on where you are. Like you're obviously doing some of this to hopefully leave behind for your family and help make your family's life easier. And a big reason for me too is one, to leave stuff behind, but also I'm looking forward to the financial freedom of being able to hang out with my kids more as they're growing than most people in the world get to, due to having to work a lot of hours and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping it frees me up a little bit more in my life to get to do things with my dad. Not that I had a bad growing up at all, but my dad worked 6 days a week from before I woke up. He was gone for work, and then he came home when it was dark. To where I had great memories with my dad, but definitely would have been awesome if he was, there to do some of the day-to-day things. So I'm hoping that a lot of people who are in pTGC get to reap the rewards of some sort of financial freedom.
Yes, I'm right there with you, man. Because work does. I mean, I'm not against good hard work, but you don't have to work for money. That's been my contention for a long time. I can go cut firewood in the forest. And that's work. That's gratifying, satisfying, laborious work. I just wouldn't be doing it for money.
Yeah, you can work on your health, stuff like that. Make the years that you have here more enjoyable with your body being healthy and strong, stuff like that too.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I do want to talk to you about and I haven't looked into it at all, but the security, Pulse being a not a security chain, but a privacy chain. Have you looked into that at all? Do you know anything about it?
I glanced over the tweet, so I saw. I usually always check Richard's page, see what tweets have came out, and I skimmed over that stuff. Definitely was interested in it, but then when I saw some conversations on Twitter of people kind of digging a little bit deeper into it, then I kind of went and revisited a little bit more and said, hey, let me recheck this and see how much of it actually felt like he was seriously considering it. Because, I think we got to look at like the product market fit of Pulsechain and where we can excel, right? Obviously, cheapest isn't like the best. Like Richard's talked about multiple times, that having the cheapest fees is not the best because it doesn't drive the value up of the gas token. Having a perfect medium, like it's kind of like a business, right? You want to offer a great product or service at a great rate, but you want to also make sure that it's sustainable for you to run that business. Yeah, you could create a business and do all the work for zero profits, but really, does that make sense? Not at all, right? You want to find that perfect medium where you're giving someone a great service, but also you're getting paid for your time. And in this case, you want to make sure you're getting a gas that's good for price appreciation of the asset, because I don't think people mind paying a little bit in gas if the price of the asset that they're paying that gas in is increasing in value constantly. So we're not the cheapest, right? I wouldn't consider us the fastest either. There's some faster blockchains. So what can we stand out in as far as a blockchain? Personally, I think privacy is a big one. If Richard has something privacy related being developed, a lot of big players want privacy. And specifically, I've heard Richard talk about lots of times with other big players that they've been involved in certain blockchains. I think Monero is one of them, specifically for the privacy features. So they're holding that asset solely for the fact that they could use it for privacy reasons. So I think if we could have something like that on Pulsechain, it would help onboard some of these bigger players, because bigger players want privacy with their with their finances. So I think that would be really cool. Also, price appreciation, right? I think most people are in crypto for its price appreciation. So if our charts speak for themselves, if our blockchain is appreciating more consistently, more sustainable than other blockchains, right? That's a ton of product market fit right there. You could have high gas fees, you could have slow blocks, you know, transactions take longer. You could have pretty much nothing under the hood, but if the price is just going up and up and up and up, that's a ton amount of product market fit right there.
Yep. I first heard about privacy at the Pulse conference in March. I don't exactly remember who mentioned it, but B Roots claimed to have touched on it, at least touched on it at the conference in a tweet today. But somebody was saying that anything privacy this cycle is going to be a big deal. And I had never even thought about perhaps Pulsechain framing itself as a privacy chain. Now, how can we actually physically, mechanically make that happen? I don't know, but that would be an excellent way to separate ourselves from the rest of the market. In addition to perhaps even having a stable coin on it. You know, those two things, home run, man. I think even one of those, having one of those with Richard at the helm, home run. But you get them both. Woo.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's kind of like even when I talk about pTGC and UFO, we have so much stuff going on. But even if you just look at the fact that it's an index of the blue chips on the chain, that's like one of the 20 features. Like that feature alone has tons of product market fit. So like even if we relate what we were just talking about to Richard, if privacy is just a feature on his blockchain that people could use, that has tons of product market fit because other privacy blockchains really aren't that stellar to where we could capitalize on that really, really well. But then we also have other great features, right? Like the fact that he forked Ethereum and pretty much gave everyone a reset, right? That reset is a crazy opportunity that I don't think a lot of people realize as of now. The fact that we actually are able to get the gas token at ground zero, the store of values at ground zero, the DEX tokens at ground zeros. And on top of that, we even have the forked over tokens, which are getting their own traction, right? You have PWrap Bitcoin, you got PDAI, and who knows where those will land, but they do have value, obviously, and we're scooping them up at very low levels. So price appreciation, right? A lot of, as price appreciation, as adoption comes to Pulsechain, and if Richard has it planned out to have his charts look really, really good, we know this is the main reason people are in crypto, is to get gains, to become financially free. If, you know, they're legitimately decentralized, so having pretty much governments and banks off their money, and then on top of that, privacy, those things coming together in one product could be huge.
Yep. And I think that Liberty Swap Financial has some privacy. I think it's pretty clear. If you've read their documentation on their site, they literally have some really good privacy stuff built into their swapping of tokens, to where you're only using an address one time, and then it goes in, it just vaporizes or something like that. And there's like, you can transact, you can swap into a token and out of a token into another one, and there's no trace of a transaction, you know, that somebody can find you with or something like that. It was a pretty good read. I was very impressed, and I don't know that they've built it out yet. Do you know whether whether they have more phases that they got to incorporate for that?
Yeah, I didn't know there was a privacy feature in Liberty Finance. So if there is, I think it's not out yet. Maybe it's part of a roadmap or something like that. But I'm not an expert on Liberty Finance at all. I've never used it to date. So if someone else has more information on that, they could obviously chime in on it.
Yeah, please do if you guys want.
What's up, Tiger?
Hey, I got a lot to say here about privacy. It's one major concern that's on my head as the portfolio is growing, and I'm thinking about millions of dollars. How do I move it? How do I hide it? So on and so forth is a major concern with me, and I'm starting to think about it just to basically back up what you're saying, I'm starting to think about it hardcore and what makes Pulsechain very viable to invest in and why people should be educated on Pulsechain.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like who walks around with their wallet wide open just on the streets? Like that you're hiding it in your pocket for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you think about other chains and other places in crypto, there's very little privacy. If you think about it, like really hardcore, you're thinking about, you know, getting your money to pay for items and property in a house or a car, or so on and so forth. There's not much privacy out there.
No, not at all. There was like this really good video I watched on the day on privacy and how blockchain is currently set up is like building houses out of glass only to where all your neighbors could just watch everything that you're doing all the time. And it's not that like you're doing something illegal in your house. Like most people don't do illegal things in the house, but it's a right? Like we have the right to not get naked in front of everyone if we please to not, or, you know, that we don't want to. And we have a right to privacy. And I think that is the next big step in crypto to where upon ask, just like upon ask or upon warrant, people are able to just come into your house, but with good reason. I think crypto is going to evolve into this eventually is, you know, just right off the bat, they're not going to be able to see into your wallets. Yeah, if the government or banks or whoever does need to see it for a certain reason, upon warrants or whatever, they can access it. But only like the sender and the receiver can see transactions and stuff like that. I think these products are going to be built out, especially with the amount of adoption that we currently are getting within crypto. Like in this last 6 months to a year, the amount of adoption that we've gotten from, you know, in the United States is insane.
It's tremendous.
I mean, we do have pseudo, if we can call, if I may call it that, privacy, where it's like the blockchain it's entirely public, visible to anybody with access to the blockchain. Yet, unless you know whose address you're looking at, then it's like public anonymity, super public yet anonymous. Yet, if you happen to send a transaction to a buddy of yours, you know, maybe you got to pay for something. And this is going to become more and more commonplace as crypto gains adoption. You send a transaction to a buddy, and then he can see all your stuff. Well, yeah, we're going to need to have privacy somehow built into crypto going forward.
All right, I want to swap subjects here for a good reason. I want to talk pTGC because I want to educate my entire following starting tomorrow morning on pTGC.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
That's really what we're here for.
Okay, let's start. I got my little piece of paper here and I'm writing stuff down. Let's start with, in a simple terms, you've already answered this, but I just want to write it down. What is pTGC? Just simplify it for me.
I have a couple cool bulletin points that I've been kind of slapping on a few of like these larger crypto accounts, just when they're asking like for good projects and stuff like that. It's hyper deflationary, low market cap, vibrant community, top tier mascot and meme, 25 million liquidity pools combined, APY just for holding, real utility, built on a high potential undervalued blockchain, which that's one of like the key features that a lot of people are underestimating that I think is going to be one of the biggest ingredients that gets added here soon. And diversification within one token. So by just holding one token, you're actually holding all of the blue chips or most of the blue chips.
That's a big one I'm going to touch on. I'm going to use that like crazy tomorrow as I'm explaining it. I love that.
Yeah, it's very much the easy button when you get to Pulsechain, because even like for you, right, when you first came to Pulsechain, like it's kind of like stepping into this brand new world where you're like, hey, I need to figure out which one are the good blue chips, which ones are running, which ones has a strong community. Like for me, or you know, for Banana, who have just
what the most common question I get is I get this. I must have had it 100 times today. The most common question I get is, which token, if you could only choose one in Pulsechain, would you hold? and this is my choice.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pTGC makes that easy because by just holding one, you're holding pretty much the 20 top assets. Obviously, we get the additional price appreciation daily or price depreciation daily based on our own buyers and sellers because we're own market as well. But we do get the everyday gains and losses by our liquidity web. So by just holding pTGC and UFO, you are exposed to the gains or losses of pretty much 20 blue chips on chain.
Perfect. I want you to explain something to me, and I want you to try to do it as simple as you can. Okay. Let's use Peacock for example. Okay. I don't know if you're exposed to it or not. How does it capture that? Your product. Hey, try to be simple on it. I know it's complex, but how does it go in and capture the 56% gain for the day? How does it do that?
Yeah, so right now we do not have an LP pairing with Peacock, so we are not directly tied with Peacock yet.
Let's just pretend that you are tied to it. Explain how it works. Like, how would it capture that gain?
Yeah, so let's say we were able to take advantage of the Peacock token. One we were able to take advantage of more recently was the Bria token, which is another Pump Tires one that did decent recently. It's Rackham's token. Right. But for Peacock, we create liquidity with it. So we buy up that token, then we add it to liquidity with pTGC. And now that token becomes part of our liquidity web. And now it's part of our portfolio. So just like your own portfolio, Tiger, like if you look at your own wallet, every token in there is a percentage of your entire portfolio. And every single day you have gains or losses based on the performance of those specific assets. The liquidity web works very much the same way. Every single day is based on the performance of the pieces that we have in it based on their size. So like in your portfolio, let's say you had 80% of it in Richard's core tickers and 20% of it in the lower caps, like Peacock. And then Peacock went on a massive move that day, like today. And then the RH tickers went down a little bit, like today. Well, your whole entire portfolio possibly didn't move up that day because the majority of it was in the assets that moved down.
Correct.
But you did get gains from that 20% riskier play that you had, and it bettered your average, right? It increased it made a better average to your portfolio. The liquidity web works in that very same way. The majority of our liquidity is with the Richard tickers because we know that they'll have sustainability on this chain or have a better chance of sustainability on this chain because they're Richards. They have a lot of liquidity that make them a little bit safer. They're also very low in our opinion. But we also have our
wait. My question is this: does it lock in that gain? Let's say the 20% is in Peacock, right? And it goes up 56%. Does it lock that in somehow?
So in that specific liquidity pool, the pTGC in that pool does go up 20%, right? But then that 20% increase in that specific pool, it makes that pTGC 20% higher than another liquidity pool, right? So there's a price difference. And then a market maker is going to say, wow, we see a price difference there. We are going to buy cheap pTGC, let's say in the hex pool, if that was a poor performing pool of the day.
And now I can understand.
Yeah, it will grab that cheap pTGC, so it will buy the pTGC off the market, pay our
Holy shit! Now I understand. I'm starting to understand.
Yep. And then it will go and sell it into that overpriced liquidity pool. So then we generate revenue off of that again, and it will move enough money to fix that pool to where that gap is no longer profitable for the market maker. And then we generate the revenue off of that movement. And then obviously how the balance happens is you have to remember when they fixed those prices, they had to buy the pTGC out of the cheap pool, which increased the price of the pTGC token in the cheap pool. And that's what increases the value of, the overall ecosystem. Right. So that one pair that we had increased. So the pTGC was overpriced in that pair compared to its other assets. So the market makers then need to even out the pTGC. So it's going to actually bring down the price of pTGC in the pair that went up. Let's say the Peacock pair.
It's arbitrage plays.
Yes, it's just arbitraging it. But then what's unique about our system is we're actually also generating revenue off of them arbitraging our pairs. And then we take that value and then buy and burn our own asset or add liquidity with these new pairs that pop up and also pay APY to our holders.
Boy, that's pretty wild. I understand a little bit. I'm not fully clear on it yet. I'm learning. This is super complex for me.
It's a lot easier when you like don't think about the super small ones, because those ones are still smaller ones. But like look at like a larger one that once was small. Like for example, our PDI pair, right? At one point,
perfect example. Yeah.
We made a PDI pair at very low levels, and it started off small. But since PDI at one point, and it's still up quite a bit from where we paired it, started performing very, very well. So just very similarly to like if you had your own portfolio, and let's say you took 10% of your portfolio and bought a really cheap priced PDI, and the rest of your portfolio didn't move up much, but your PDI moved up, let's say 10x. Well, now the PDI would be like half of your portfolio, right? Because that asset moved up, but the other assets didn't. The liquidity web kind of operates in the same way. The better performing assets actually start to become larger, and the least performing assets or the worst performing assets become smaller. This is exactly what you want. I called it the alpha pool. It just is like the constant rebalancing of making your best assets bigger players in your ecosystem, and the assets that don't play well naturally become less. It's like natural selection of liquidity pools. But so in this example, now PDI or another large pair, it's big to where if PDI went on a run tomorrow, since we have I think it's like between pTGC and UFO like 500K or even more liquidity with PDI. Well, that's a really large pool. So market makers will need to move tens to $20,000 to $30,000 to fix that pair and then go rebalance the other pairs. So as assets start performing well, especially our big liquidity pools, it has to constantly rebalance our ecosystem, which forces the price of pTGC upwards. Because
that's crazy. Yeah, I'm learning a lot now. That's crazy.
Yeah, so like even Hex is a good one. Like just a couple of days ago, Hex went up, and we have a very large liquidity pool with Hex, like $1 million with pTGC, I think $2 million with UFO. So that dragged up the pTGC in that pair. Well, that's a very large liquidity pool to fix. So the market makers need to buy a ton of pTGC from the worst performing pairs, let's say PLS that day. So that's a buy on our chart, which increases the underlying value of our ecosystem, but then they sell it into that overpriced pair. So they're bringing up the lower price pairs, which is increasing the floor, and then selling it into the overpriced ones, which kind of brings that one back down to where it's all flat again, or near flat with the pricing between pTGC. So that's why as everything performs well, like this is best case scenarios, this is why like the pTGC ecosystem, we want RH tickers to win, we want P copies to win, we even want pump.tires tokens to win, because if all these assets start increasing, they just increase the price of pTGC. So pTGC technically could do 100x from here if Pulsechain does 100x without any buys even on our chart.
Now I understand. I got a next question for you. What is UFO?
UFO is a token that operates off of the same utility, so this liquidity web utility. But what makes it very different is pTGC's liquidity is all protocol owned and majority burnt, so burnt onto the blockchain. But UFO is an entire farm on top of a token, to where the liquidity backing UFO is actually supplied by our community. So our community is actually taking their own value, pairing it up with UFO. All that value is working for our ecosystem by buying and burning UFO, backing the price of UFO. But that token's contract also buys pTGC and burns it. So all of the liquidity that's sitting there with UFO, it's not only working for the UFO price, but it's also working for pTGC's price as well. But it's pretty much, it's like a brand new system to where it's a farm. So very similar to what DEXs do with their farms, but instead of giving a DEX value, all of the value is meant to give UFO's token value by either incentivizing people to add liquidity with it, paying the holders of UFO, or buying UFO itself.
I may need your help eventually in marketing this. I'm going to try to make this simplistic for everybody. I'm going to spend a lot of time working on that tomorrow. I'm going to work on this.
It's very much similar as far as pTGC though, as far as it's an index including most of the blue chips on chain. By just holding UFO, you're exposed to most of the blue chips on chain. It's also hyper deflationary. So it's a deflationary asset tapping into supply and demand principles, less supply every single day. And then you also receive UFO just for holding UFO. So it has built-in APY into the code as well. Very much similar to pTGC in both those ideas as well.
Understood. I'm learning a lot. Well, that's all the questions I had. I just want to listen. Whatever you want to talk about, I'm listening. I'm just learning. This is a learning space right here.
Yeah. One thing I think we're going to do is kind of run through some of Richard's tweets and kind of relate that to us and how those tweets help pTGC and UFO, or what pieces or clues we can kind of get off of them. And
that's perfect for me. I love cryptic deciphering. I love that.
Yeah. So what we were kind of talking about previously, which we've kind of already finished that one, is 2 days ago or something, there were some tweets about privacy. And a lot of people were speculating on the ideas that he has some privacy features coming to Pulsechain, which I'm super ecstatic about, because
that's very bullish.
Yeah, pTGC and UFO are designed to become massive stores of value, like mechanically, mathematically, with the success of Pulsechain. They very easily can be in the top 25 of crypto. And personally, I believe they have better math behind them, to where if they can become that large, I do believe large players will come into Pulsechain specifically to store value in pTGC and UFO. And the super cool thing about that is when people come to Pulsechain to buy pTGC and UFO, they're increasing the price of Pulsechain, Hex, PulseX, and all the other assets that we're tied to, because we've gotten so large. We now are those tokens, like large liquidity pools. So when we move up, we actually increase RH's assets value as well. So very symbiotic relationship there, to where when we increase in value, we're moving up all those assets. But then when they increase in value, they're moving up our assets. So I look at it like other blockchains are player versus player sports, to where you're just playing against another player. But here on Pulsechain, because we've created this liquidity web style, it's like playing a team sport, to where even if it's a day that you're not on your A game, but your teammates are playing good, you still have the capability of winning that day's game, right? So every point that we score is a point on the team scoreboard. Every point they score is also a point on the team scoreboard, making it a very, very likely chance that we're going to win, because we're both working in the same direction. Other blockchains don't have this at all. It's just you versus them, because you're only tied within one pair, ETH or BNB.
Do you want to go over some of those tweets then?
Yeah. Which ones kind of stand out to you, or we can just work our way from top to bottom?
Well, there was one from August 10th, yesterday, where he says, "Fun idea, a block explorer where the only." I haven't read these. Okay, so if this sounds like the one you're referring to, we can continue reading it. A block explorer where only the sender and receiver get to see transactions. That sounds like the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
Why should someone else pay so other people can spy on your transactions? That's a great question. A software license update that bans use of software by companies that profit from spying on you, and whatever creative constructions they'd attempt to use to evade that. You might have heard a spying company would take the Fifth Amendment protection, I think he's referring to, from testifying regarding their running certain software to spy on people. Perhaps it would be nice to include civil penalties as well. Spying isn't nice. If you want to bootstrap a bunch of users regaining their privacy, it's best to just stick it on something that's quite popular on its own, rather than try and bootstrap it by itself. So, for instance, if Dexus or something similar that had adoption just give people privacy by default, that privacy would reach out and enhance the privacy of everyone else. North Korea doesn't want you to have privacy. Do you want to let them do to you what they did to their own people? Just some random ideas.
Yeah, that one I think we kind of already talked on a lot. I personally hope some cool privacy features come to Pulsechain. I think that would give a ton of product market fit to Pulsechain. I think big players would come to Pulsechain specifically for the privacy feature, which would be great for pTGC, right? Because if value flows into Pulsechain, even if it just stays in Pulsechain, it increases the value of Pulsechain, which then increases the value of pTGC. Right, this is the benefit of being the index of the chain and being built on such an undervalued blockchain. Is the value that flows on chain actually doesn't even need to touch our asset, and we can still increase in value. Personally, I think as a store of value, we stand out to where if people flow into Pulsechain specifically for the privacy, I think they'll be exposed to the buy you hold one, you hold all idea. And then on top of that, hyper deflationary and built-in APY. A lot of people like those features in value that are in assets they're going to store large amounts of value in, especially if Pulsechain is successful in, let's say, Pulsechain's 10x from here. Well, with Pulsechain just doing a 10x, our ecosystem would have around $200 million in liquidity. If Pulsechain does 100x from here, we'll have around $2 billion of liquidity. We know large players want large liquidity, because if you're a big whale, you need liquidity to swim in. You can't put a whale in a fish tank because they can't swim freely. So that's where our ecosystem kind of stands out, is we have the features they're looking for, plus we have the design to not only have large liquidity now, but we have the plan for it to even increase even more, to where players with tens of millions can actually flow in and out freely without having to worry about lack of liquidity. The only thing they do need to worry about is the fee on transaction. But we know even with some of the largest things in real life, investment accounts, etc., there is fees for these large things, and they have no problem paying the fee for those features, right? For the buy one, you hold all, by the, for price appreciation, the 5 in, 5 out's not that big a deal if they have a proven track record, price appreciation, stuff like that.
Yeah. pTGC Maxi says Liberty Swap is incorporating Railgun like Tornado. I think around August 23rd is what he said. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that could be what Richard's talking about there, right? In that tweet, he was talking about how some DEXs might be the solution to this, to where maybe the blockchain isn't actually private, but some of the features that you use on the blockchain offer you the privacy. If it's sending tokens to a different address, or maybe it's a form of a layer 2 that offers you privacy in that next layer, or layer 0, I think people call it. But it sounds like there's something in the works that, I think we can be excited about, at least a little.
Yeah, I think there's stuff coming that's, I don't know. I think Richard has stuff up his sleeve. He has plans for us, which he has plans for himself. Okay. But they just happen to include us because we're on his chain.
Yeah. We have to remember, Richard wants these features too.
Yes.
Right. I think Pulsechain isn't only developed for us, but it's developed for him as well to use as a crypto user. So it most likely will have the features that he wants as a crypto adopter, just like we want.
There you go. Bingo. You nailed it right there. He's building his own, the chain that he would love to use. That's so true. I never thought about it like that. I thought about something too. I listened to the spaces from Saturday, even though I was here. And you made a really good point about people coming over to Pulsechain, and not even they're going to see the prices at whatever everything is revalued at whenever they come. And it's not going to phase them to buy pTGC a little bit higher than where everybody is buying it over here right now. When they come.
I'm telling you, no one cares. Yeah, any new user coming to this blockchain, they're not going to care about what price Hex was at 4 months ago, or what price PulseX was at 4 months ago, or what price PTGC was up at 2 years ago or a year ago, right? People care that have been here now. Like, some people won't buy PTGC because they saw it a year and a half ago and didn't take action, so they have an emotional state about it. But I'm telling you, any new user that comes to this blockchain and is able to take advantage of this blockchain at the opportunity that they find it at, they don't care. They will take action on the products that they think are best. They won't have an emotional attachment of, ooh, I saw that a year and a half prior, I didn't take action, now I'm emotional about it. They won't have that emotion. They'll be, I'm thankful I'm here now, and I'm going to take action on the products I think are best here.
Let me go ahead and confirm that is happening right now. I can 100% back that up. I have message after message after message of people asking about PTGC especially, and I can 100% confirm that. They're looking at the charts and they're telling me, holy crap, they don't give a damn where it's at now. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that confirmation. It's just how humans work, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. This is just their emotion. People that have been on Pulsechain for 2 years that haven't took action yet, they're having a hard time with it emotionally because they knew about it earlier, right? This is very similar to what happened with people in Bitcoin, right? People who knew about Bitcoin at $6 didn't want to buy it at 100 because they're like, gosh, I knew about that at $6. But guess what? They bought it at 1,000 because then once it proved that 100 wasn't just a nothing and it was going to keep going, they actually bought even higher. So my bet is this happens pretty similarly to people on Pulsechain. Once PTGC keeps growing and shows that it's sustainable and shows that contested time and becomes this premier store of value that happens to exist on Pulsechain, most likely they're going to store some of their gains in this asset due to its performance. But new people that found Bitcoin at $100, they had no emotion that it used to be at $6. They were thankful to find it right then, and that's where they took advantage of it. And guess what? They won super hard.
Yeah. Tiger, if I could give you one word of advice, when you're showing people about PTDC, if you have them open up Deck Screener and look at the chart, and if they just zoom out in US dollar terms, that's great. And that's one of the things that's going to wow them. But if you can do that,
that's a great suggestion. Thanks.
Sure, but go one step further. And it's kind of a pro tip, but maybe not. I learned it when I came into the ecosystem, and this will blow your mind, is flip the chart from USD to WPLS. And again, zoom out, maybe put it on the monthly. And look at the performance of PTDC and UFO for that matter against the layer one. It's up and to the right. And then if you want to take it a step further, if they can do the same with other assets that they're perhaps thinking about getting a position in. And if they're not moving up against the L1 like PTDC is or UFO, well, you know, they got to make their own decision. But the chart speaks volumes to me.
I'm going to utilize that in my talk tomorrow. I'm going to do 2 different live sessions. I'm being requested to do live sessions like crazy. And then on top of that, I'm going to do individual videos explaining it in detail. Perfect.
I love it, man. Keep up the good work.
I'm dragging serious people to this chain. I'm not kidding you. Like this, the interest is overwhelming. Like I cannot even keep up. It's like it's become a full-time job. Like I don't even do concrete anymore. Like I'm just onboarding people. I'm like, how did this happen?
That's good. That's a good problem. It's a good problem to have.
I literally spent the entire day today talking to people. Like the whole day from 7 a.m. till now.
That's good. I mean, you're building your network, man. And those people are going to come in, and when they transact, you know, you're going to get a little piece of it. It's almost like PCDC and UFO are almost like a referral program. You bring all your buddies in and they get a bag and they like give you a little tip. It's pretty sweet. JD has a question. He says, what would be the benefit of me adding a UFO position to my portfolio if I already had a substantial PTDC bag? PTDC seems like the golden goose, so to speak. Is there anything I'm missing that would make UFO potentially outperform PTDC, or reason to hold both from an investment perspective? Thanks for all you both do for the community. And I'll go ahead and start, Zen. I've been getting this question a lot. And pTGC, I can't get around the fact that it has that DAO, which has, it's well funded and it can pivot on a dime. Who knows what kind of opportunities it's going to take advantage of in the future. It has the DAO. It burns its own tokens. It's the mothership. It was first to market. What else? Oh, UFO. Okay, you can buy 6 times more of the supply of UFO right now versus pTGC. It doesn't have a DAO, but it burns 1% of pTGC. UFO has a bigger LP, by almost 2x, and it has more LP with RH tickers. Am I missing anything? And what are your thoughts, Zen, or anybody for that matter?
Yeah, I think there's no way to ever tell someone which one will perform better over time.
Yep.
Right. pTGC is obviously the main one. It's the mothership of the ecosystem. UFO, as it's more successful, actually makes pTGC more successful because it buys and burns pTGC, and they're very much bonded in liquidity, so they help rise each other up as well. There is opportunity most likely in the fact that UFO is a sixth or a fifth of the price, but just because something's a fifth or sixth of the price as far as market cap does not mean it's going to outperform another thing.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people like to believe that, but that's just not the case.
No. Yeah.
So it does have a specific role in our ecosystem, the role of where the community can actually put up their liquidity to help pTGC with buy and burns, etc., and then also give this unique token a price as well. Is there a reason to hold it? That's kind of up to you, right? Like they do have a couple different twists to them that make them different from each other. UFO is currently cheaper and has a very large liquidity web to market cap ratio. The amount of liquidity behind UFO is like 13 million or something like that, and the market cap is only 40 million. This is like some of the best ratios I've seen in all of crypto from market cap to ratio, which does make it a little bit harder to pump because more value has to come in. But what it does mean to me is it's a very large index of the tokens on chain that haven't performed at all to date for the most part, which we believe are going to perform very, very well. The last time these assets just started moving up slightly, UFO really took off, right? pTGC also has these features, but market cap to liquidity ratio is a little bit more traditional, just because pTGC has performed so well since its existence. It's actually spread itself from its liquidity. So as a user, if any of those features kind of stands out to you as like, hey, I like this, you can kind of make your own decision there. But they both operate off of the same utility, the utility of the liquidity web where the market moves up and down, and we generate revenue off of it, and that revenue goes 100% back to the ecosystem. And then deflationary index of the blue chips on chain.
That's good advice. One thing that we've been doing is in these conversations is like you can hardly go wrong, and you wouldn't be able to really beat yourself up later if you went 50-50. That's how I am positioning my how I would do it right now, how I would dollar cost average into these tokens 50-50, because I was thinking today, because somebody in the chat was asking me which one, and I'm like, I was doing the thought experiment. Somebody has a gun to my head, which one? And I literally cannot tell you which one. So 50-50 solves it. But that's not financial advice. That's just a couple guys on X. I did want to make sure that we convey, Zen, and this is me conveying it to you. Got an update on holding yield. This is UFO holding yield versus LPing yield. Somebody asked in the chat today what the difference was. And so I went into my spreadsheet, and I'm showing it on YouTube now. We have been saying for the longest time you earn 5 times more APY. That was true in February. So, and every other month it has been different. Right now, if my records are correct, and I don't have any reason to think that they're not, the holding yield is 2.4 times more profitable than LPing. So for every dollar, and this is in dollar terms, for every dollar somebody is earning an LP, for the same quantity of tokens, if they're holding the tokens liquid, they're earning $2.40. And that's an update that I wanted to make sure everybody that is here heard.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to have those up-to-date numbers. So holding right now, you're earning 2.5x what you do for LPing.
Yeah.
Just for anyone listening. And if you're holding, you have no impermanent loss. So keep in mind, no impermanent loss is a great thing if UFO starts to run, because people who are LPing, they have the potential of getting impermanent loss. This is a risk of liquidity providing, to where if you're just holding, you get to actually realize all the X's that token does, which can turn into a lot if something really starts to run.
Yeah, and I built this into my calculator today. Literally, when the guy asked the question, I went into my monthly data, and I was like, "Oh, this is something we can track monthly." So I built it out, and at the end of August, we will know how much, what the difference is at the end of August, and then we can publish that perhaps when you and I stream, so everybody's up to date. But we're just kind of learning as we go, guys. There will be casualties, small ones. Only small ones. But hey, if you're holding UFO, you're making more than if you're LPing it. But if you're LPing UFO, you got that superpower in your wallet, that share rate. So it's all going to work out. It's almost like, which token do you buy, pTGC or UFO? Well, 50-50 makes it pretty easy. And then you won't be able to beat yourself up too much later. Julie Kennis says she's bullish on Pulsechain. I think we all are.
You want to keep making our way up some of these Richard tweets?
We can do that. Okay, we have I have a visual right here. It's the dog food, which I think was from Saturday. Do you want me to go up or down?
Let's do the dog food one.
Okay. That wasn't an up or down.
I do want to work our way up, actually, but
okay.
Let's hit this one before we start going up.
Okay.
I don't want to go too deep into the Richard tweets. He's done a lot lately.
Yeah. How do you assure quality? Eat your own dog food. You guys should pretend to be new users and discover the low-hanging fruit of things to fix. Ooh. Post them here. Which are the easiest to fix suck points? Maybe some things are easy as complaining upstream, like PRC 20 support in wallet, perhaps. Complaining is a sport some places. Look how lucky you are to have a sanctioned arena. I haven't read that before. He's funny. He's a character, man. I'd love to have dinner with Richard Hart. Sorry. Do you have any comments on that?
Oh yeah, I got something to add. Please tell me you've seen my video related to this.
I saw 2 of your videos recently. I don't know that I saw one about the dog food.
Where I ate the dog food. Go find it.
I'm definitely going to find it.
I ate dog food. You're going to die laughing.
Well, I ate dog food when I was a kid, but I never as an adult.
Go find my video. You're going to die.
Tiger Crypto Dog did. Yeah, man, I'm going to find it.
Because my dog looks at me and I said, I'm not buying the better dog food. She looks at me like, what?
I always take the dog treat and like put it to the side of my mouth, like I'm putting it in my mouth, and just antagonize them.
I think I'm going to start doing a parody post. And for every post that Richard posts, I'm going to do a parody version.
You should, man.
I think it'd be good entertainment and bring attention to the chain. I think it'd be awesome. I bet he laughed his ass off.
He will.
Seen that video.
Yeah,
Richard watched it.
He'd love it. Yeah, he'd love that stuff. I think he likes the attention.
You just go watch the video. You're gonna die laughing watching it. I made it fun. Like, you're gonna die laughing at my dog. I got this boxer. She's hilarious.
I look forward to it.
And one of the Pulsechain community members sent her treats, and I used it in the video. Her name, She Slays Crypto is her screen name. She sent Zelda treats, dog treats.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Hey, do you want me to scroll up, Zen? Or do you want to talk about, I don't know, that you even commented about that post, about the dog food post.
Yeah, the only thing I liked out of it really is the fact you mentioned the wallet, right? A wallet that is, to me, I think Richard has a wallet done. I don't know if he's saving that ammunition for the right time. I personally think a lot of stuff is done as far as products for Pulsechain, but we kind of talked about this a lot of times. Like when you're in war, right, and you have only so much ammo, you have to save that ammo for the right time. You don't just get boots on the floor and just start firing all your ammo and then it's gone with nothing in sight, right? There still is currently no retail flowing into crypto, and retail is the target, right, in my opinion, for Richard. And since there hasn't been a lot of retail flowing in, there hasn't been no real reason to use the ammunition. I think personally, when he can feel the inflow of value flowing in, which it kind of feels to start, right? Prices moving up is the best indicator of new value flowing in. It literally, PLS moves up from value flowing over the bridge into it. And I believe this is when he's going to start releasing some of the products, hopefully like a wallet and whatnot, that makes it the user experience better for the people who are here. But then maybe also works well with some of these onboarding tools that are being created, and obviously has like his tickers auto loaded into it, etc. So that would be sweet.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to scroll up?
Yeah, scroll up if any of those stand out to you. You don't have to read all of them. There's quite a few.
There's the Etherscan one. Do you remember that one? I hear Etherscan charges $2 million a year to support a chain. Whoa. And when they discover there's more work to do, they probably charge more because Pulsechain is a fully stateful fork of Ethereum. It has 10 years of transactions to index and display. Vastly, vastly more than new empty chains. And for the $2 million or more a year, your users will be advertised other chains and be shown ads. Interesting. And Ethereum users will never see your chain because you'll be shown alongside 35 other chains in a tiny little box no one clicks.
Yeah, I don't think Richard has any care to increase or to give us a better scan. I think he is fine with the scan we have. Personally, I've gotten just used to using it, so it doesn't even bother me anymore. It was kind of funky at first, but then, kind of once you've used it for so long, it's kind of just like, oh, this is what I'm used to. So I don't think he's going to be, putting a different scan out anytime soon. And there's a lot of community-built scanners.
Tons.
So that's kind of my thought on it. And then think about it, like $2 to $4 million, let's say $4 million. $4 million a year, we've been out for 2 years, that's $8 million. $8 million in our chain right now would pretty much make us do like a 6X. Like I definitely personally would rather have that in our price chart instead of for a scanner.
That's crazy. Yeah. You think it takes that little amount of money to produce that kind of gain?
Yeah, we have a calculator built for it if you want to type it in real quick. Banana.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was that little amount of money to make it pop. I'm going to use this tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah,
that's information to use.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about this blockchain is it's got the liquidity of like a meme token. So this whole entire blockchain and everything on it can just start to do extreme amounts of X's with just very, very little amount of value brought over to it. Like, even look at the amount of value that Richard's up on his ETH bag right now. It's like $80 million. Like,
it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. If you just do a 20 million over the over the bridge, and this doesn't have to come from Richard, come from anyone, a group of conglomerate of people, a couple people, but $20 million over the chain, I think, pushes PLS up a 20x. And
God, that's crazy.
And then the crazy part, yeah, and then and that's like barely any money in finance, right? That's like nothing.
Oh, that's nothing in crypto. That's nothing, like absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and then for us, where it kind of benefits even more is if a portion of that value trickles into not Pulsechain, but other assets we're connected to or us, we're all working off of an X multiplier to Pulsechain. So we get the X's of Pulsechain, and then whatever portion moves to like Hex or PulseX or pTGC, those are X's over Pulsechain, and we get to multiply the gains of our specific assets by the gains of the blockchain. And that's why it's so easy to do a crazy amount of X's on this chain. That's why I always say, like, one of our biggest features is being built on an undervalued blockchain. Imagine being built on Ethereum.
Oh, you're not going to make shit. Nothing.
Well, you're going to get no X's from the blockchain. That's the best X's, because those are the X's where your liquidity actually moves up evenly with you instead of you moving away from your liquidity. So X's from the blockchain is actually the most sustainable amount of X's that you can receive. You know, think about this. Maybe you didn't launch at 1,000x like Ethereum did, but even let's say you launched after the last 100 X's. So when Ethereum was like $40 or whatever, that's a free 100x to any token that was built at that time. This is going to happen with the success of Pulsechain. So with just
that's crazy.
Yeah. So pTGC, and I think it's Banana. You can type in like $100 million coming over that bridge.
It'd be 8.6. It'd be an 8.6x on Pulse. I'll be ready to do some Pampy stuff too in just a minute.
What's an 8.6? How much value?
Oh, give me 1 second. I'll get back on it. It would be 3043.
No, how much value did you type in there?
Oh, 20 million.
Oh, yeah. So 20 million is an 8.3x.
God, that's
8.6.
Yep.
Yeah, only 20 million. Yeah.
So put $100 million.
$1 million is nothing in crypto. Nothing.
You got it. 100 million would be 5x that. 100 million. 100. Ooh, no, that's more than 5x. It's 114x.
Yeah, that's $100 million comes over. That's 114x, and that's 114x to everything that's connected to it. And that doesn't include if a portion of that $100 million trickles down into like pTGC, because then you're working off of reflexivity. Richard has a really good tweet about how this works. I can find it for you and send it to you sometime. It's really hard to explain. Richard wrote it out very, very well, but pretty much if $100 million comes into Pulsechain, but then let's say $10 million flows into pTGC, this is an X multiplier for pTGC. So you receive the 100 or the 100 and something X from PLS, but then you're also going to get like a 2, 3, 4, 5X from that value flowing down to your specific asset, which then makes your asset do like a 500X.
And then if you want to simulate bringing the SAC funds over, what you would do is you go to pampy.app and you can simulate the $731 million. If you just leave it where it is right now, and then you can calculate it going into Hex, PulseX, Pulse, and Inc. And what I did for this simulation is I reduced it. I reduced it by 50% to simulate cell pressure. And then I reduced some of the LP also. But even with that reduction, Pulse would do a 4,000X. Then you go over and look into pTGC, and a 4,000X with pTGC just doing a 5X on top of the L1 would be enough. It would be 8,000. It would be a lot of X's. It would be a lot. It would be 20,000 X's for pTGC.
Beyond belief.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't even like saying that Richard's going to pump his chain that much because
Yeah, I know you don't. Yep.
we would become way too massive. I ran the numbers, and even with Pulsechain being remotely successful, this is why I kind of lean into it. With Pulsechain being remotely successful, PTGC is mathematically programmed pretty much to get into the top 25 of all crypto.
That is crazy cool to know, just mathematically. It's crazy cool.
Yeah, you don't even have to get into the big numbers like that to get into big numbers. If that makes any sense.
Just here with it talking about this Moon Key. That's the one I started reading his things, and I was like, bullshit. And then I started looking into it, and I'm like, wow, he's right on this. Some of the stuff he's posting. It's what got my attention onto PTGC.
Sure. Well, just a 100x on Pulsechain, just a 100x, which is, in my estimation, like decent success for the blockchain. And if PTGC only does a 5x against Pulse, in the last year, it has done 30. If it only does a 5x, Pulse does a 100x, that's 500x or a 38.
Incredible. Holy crap.
Yeah.
The appreciation is unreal. This is why I like to market this to the normal people. Because a normal person, if they put all this money into Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP or whatever, you can't get there. You cannot take $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, which is what a normal person can afford to invest in crypto. You can't do anything substantial with it with the gains unless you wait 15 plus years.
That's what I was going to say. You were able to do it in Bitcoin and Ethereum 10
Not
years
anymore.
ago.
It's gone.
Years
It's long
ago.
gone.
Yeah,
correct.
So you have to get into it's the needle in the haystack, right? There is only a few of these products that become like the next premier store of values. And that's where the speculation is. But if you actually find the Bitcoin or Ethereum and this is also the alt tokens that have done well on those chains, right? You put SHIB in that category and stuff like that. If you find those needle in the haystacks, you can actually change a few $1,000 into life-changing amounts of value. And the cool thing about PTGC is it's the same kind of system to what people did with Hex and Ethereum. Is the people who found them early and actually held onto their bags, they got all the X's, and then they're just sitting in a premier store of value that's decentralized with self-custody.
It's a win-win. It's a win in every direction.
Yeah, because
so where companies and governments are having to buy it at that new price that it is today, right? But if you were able to get into it early, you don't have to buy into it at its new price because you speculated on it before the 100x, 200x, 300x. You got to just ride it up.
And then you're making passive income on top of all that. You're getting the X's, and then your passive income is also getting the X's. And if you can wrap your life around the passive, man, you can have a nice little nest egg to pass on to your heirs.
Hey, Banana, Tiger, hello, Tiger.
Hey, Ty.
Prairie.
Hey, Ty.
What's up?
Hey, I just have just something to unpack on that note that I'd love for you to capture in your notes. So I can go slow so you can write it down. But
Absolutely. I'm sitting here just listening and thinking, strategizing. Like I got a plan here for tomorrow. I'm going to go crazy tomorrow. Shoot for me. I'm listening to anything you got to say.
all right. So if a pool does 100x, then the amount of money that has to be moved to balance that pool would be 100x. So the amount of volume that's paying APY and going to burn and going to LP add would operate at those volumes, right? Not at today's volumes. So you have to think about what that would do to the price, what that would do to your holdings, and what that API, because it's going to be linear, but it's going to be it's like this, right? If we maintain the same number of holders we have right now, and that APY goes there, then we're all making crazy, stupid APY. If more people come into our protocol, they get a portion of that APY, which is great. But yeah, it doesn't really, that's just part of the system, right? That's on top of everything that's a normal cryptocurrency. Where
real quick, Ty, just to kind of correct you on one thing is pretty much 100% of the supply is in holders' hands right now. Only 2% of supply is even in liquidity. So if you have your bags now, with new adoption, they're not actually dampening your APY at all.
That's cool.
Hold on to your bag, because for the most
neat.
part, 100%, 98% of the supply is either burnt in the dead address or in holders' hands. 2% of it is in liquidity, but even as users try to get at that 2%, and keep in mind, no one even knows Pulsechain exists, and Richard's about to start a Pulsechain marketing campaign. So I think very soon people will know Pulsechain exists. The rest of the world only has 2% of supply to get after of pTGC.
Yeah, phenomenal point.
Yeah, so they're not going to dilute your APY. They're just going to make it better.
That's great. That's really good to hear. That's one thing that, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I just wanted to Tiger to capture that the volume is going to drive the APY. You know what I mean?
Very appreciated. I'm taking notes, just thinking about it and getting everything together and just slowly learning myself,
Yeah, Zen can explain it a lot better than I can, but that's the gist of it.
That's wonderful. I understand. I got you. No problem. Appreciate you explaining it very much.
Yeah, Ty, I think that's worth bringing up just because we're kind of running over like the math of a successful blockchain. And you're 100% right there, right? Like even without any net positive buyers or sellers on pTGC, if it's just even, same amount of buyers or sellers, we just stay evenly ratioed with Pulsechain, and Pulsechain does 100x. All of our liquidity pools 100x. So now market makers would have to move 100 times the amount of value to fix the pairs. So what we receive daily in volume, we could make an educated guess that could be 100x higher, which makes the buy and burn 100x higher from its mechanical feature. This makes the LP ads 100x higher, and that makes the APY 100x higher as well. And that's just mechanically. That doesn't take into consideration if Pulsechain is 100x higher, it most likely got there from a combination of user adoption and Richard pumping the chain. But we could make an educated guess that volume and volatility, not from just market makers, but from human interaction, would increase drastically as well. And if you include that portion into those numbers, it starts to get crazy. So I don't even like to increase like it increasing in a multiplier against the blockchain, because the numbers will just blow your mind.
Yeah, not to mention it's competing against itself with the burn and the LP ad, so supply is constantly shrinking. There will be less supply on that day than there is right now for it to work with. And it'll have to deal with that 100x elevated volume on a supply that it has to work with. And that is going to be interesting.
Yeah, the code is forced to buy out of less and less tokens every single day. And if Pulsechain's increasing, that technically should mean volume's increasing. So the machine is constantly getting stronger if Pulsechain's growing, and as pTGC grows, but it's every day forced to buy out of less and less tokens. And either what has to happen is price has to go so high that it forces our holders to sell their tokens into the liquidity pool to bring down the price, or our holders see value in holding what could be one of the next premier store of values because of self-custody. Maybe we're on a blockchain that has privacy and decentralization. We hope, fingers crossed, right? Everything could line up perfect if Richard pulls off what I actually believe he's going to pull off. Is I think he's going to create a environment that's favorable to an asset like this, where there's secure, or where there's privacy, where there's solid decentralization, where we don't have to give up tons of value to middlemen, where a lot of the math behind all these projects being built on them actually increase the value of the blockchain itself. For an example, the DEX buys and burns itself, Pump.Tires buys and burns PLS, all these meme tokens that launched, the value goes right into the V1 pairing on PulseX, which buys and burns PulseX rapidly. Like a lot of it has supply and demand built into the code, and then pTGC has supply and demand built into the code. If this blockchain is remotely successful, I personally believe pTGC and UFO become like premier store of values in the crypto asset class, to where very large players will have to come to Pulsechain to be exposed to a product like this. And by forcing them into Pulsechain, it's forcing the price up of Pulsechain, which then forces the price up of pTGC before they even start trading into pTGC.
Right. Yeah, I think one thing is overlooked that I don't know if it exists anywhere else is something as massive as PulseX that's based on a network effect tied to something like pTGC and UFO that are deflationary. I know you mentioned that before, but...
Yeah, I don't think there is. I can't find anything in this world or in crypto that has so many hyper-deflationary assets bonded together at the bottom of a blockchain. Yeah. Right? Like Bitcoin doesn't even have products built on top of it, but like even Ethereum, like even when Ethereum launched, there wasn't like complex DeFi protocols that were designed to be the next store of value with hyper-deflationary systems grabbing at the lows. Like even imagine this, right? If a product grabbed at the lows $10 million of liquidity of ETH at its launch price, that token would have never even needed a buyer to ever buy it, and it would be worth billions. So what Richard has offered us here as builders and as holders and just people like risking, it's a risk. There's a risk of Pulsechain not getting the adoption that we believe it's going to get. That's where the risk is. But the reward is just so unbelievably like crazy. It's insane to not, like Tiger was saying, like if you only have a few $1,000 to go into crypto, the risk to reward that we're operating off over here in Pulsechain is crazy compared to other blockchains out there.
In my opinion, this is the best bet you got that I can predict to make life-changing money. This is it. I don't see anything in all of crypto that you can predict. Keyword, you got to be able to predict it. You can't get lucky. I can't go buy meme coins and get lucky. This is the best thing that I see. I don't see anything remotely close to this.
That's where I keep ending up, Tiger. I've been around the block a little bit. I've seen a lot of different projects, and anymore I just keep, especially at this part of the cycle, I've consolidated a lot into the Grays currencies and no turning back. I'm a happy camper.
I tell you when it becomes relevant, when you actually see that game. Like you see it. It's hard to be right until you're right. You know what I mean?
There was
mentally speaking, like psychologically, it's tough. It's really tough to say, I'm right. Nobody believes it. But when it happens, everybody goes, oh my God, he's right.
Yep. There was a lady on my presentation yesterday. I do a presentation twice a week where I walk through the whole ecosystem. Yesterday, this gal jumps in and we're talking about price appreciation, whatever. And she's like, yeah, pTGC is the biggest part, the biggest asset in my wallet by value, yet it was the least, yet I put the least economic energy into it to attain it. And I hear that a lot from, well, not in that detail, but I hear it a lot in this community that pTGC and UFO are the biggest part of people's wallets. I know it has been in my wallets for a number of months and months and months.
I'm about to roll massive meme coin profit straight into that. That's my plan starting tomorrow, probably.
It's so cool that you're here, Tiger, because I've been watching your videos over the last couple of days. I've been like, man, I really wish this guy knew about pTGC, and here you are.
I've been in it quite a while. I started with $29, almost $3,000. I'm at $8,100 now. I started long ago.
Nice. That's not a bad start.
Yeah,
man. I was in a stream yesterday with a bunch of ETH people, And one of them was like, how many X's has PTGC done? So I just stayed silent, and another guy pulled it up, and he was like 45,000.
What?
God, is it that high? I didn't know it was that high.
That's what he claimed. I'd love to fact check that. If somebody could do that. But yeah,
Well,
he claimed,
the only one that I fact
45,000 X.
Moon King said, he said this, and I did fact check it. He said if you put in $1,000 at open, like when the SAC hit, you know, the SAC rate, and you put it in, he said you would have now $2.4 million. And I fact checked it, and it was correct.
Nice.
And I'm going to use his tweet for ammunition to onboard people. That is a hell of a tweet. It's not lies. I checked it. It's not a lie. It's straight up real.
I think you might be close, Ty, with that 45,000 X or whoever it was that stated that.
Is that right?
But it could be. It's incredible. But I always like to go like after about the first week for me personally on the charts. And then I always want to caveat a comment like that also, because some people will think, okay, it's already done a lot of X's. Doesn't have any left. In my opinion, yes.
I told him, I was like, that's
I don't need a lot of X's. I just need like a 10X. I'm happy. Like my expectations are so low, it's crazy.
That's good.
I'm hearing this crazy talk, and I'm like, my God.
Well, just hold on, man. Just hold on.
Yeah, this could be the first 1 billion X token. It could be. And that's,
these are the real deal, man. These guys were legit. And probably some of the top streamers. And they were talking about it. And one guy was talking shit. Another guy was just like lighting him up. One of the spaces holders, he was just like totally backing PTGC up like it was cool.
if you can share it, I don't want to pressure into disclosing who it was, but I mean, if it's public or whatever, I'd love to know who it is.
Yeah,
even if you got to message me.
I can try to find it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious. I like to know more information, information. That's what I want. I'm sure Zen would agree.
Yeah, I find it very interesting because I know mathematically like what this system could do and like how it works really well. And the main ingredient of this protocol hasn't even been added into the formula. The main ingredient is the blockchain that we're built on actually being sustainable, and we've been able to operate very, very well in a very unfavorable environment. But when that environment actually becomes favorable, the numbers I've ran are so much crazier than pretty much anyone realizes. But you have to realize most tokens are already built in favorable environments. There's already users there. There's already direct access to centralized exchanges there. There's already value on the chain where people are even up money. You have to keep in mind, first of all, money's been leaving this blockchain for 2 years straight. So we've been tapping into pretty much a watering hole that's just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking every single day. The second part is everyone on this chain doesn't even have gains to rotate for the most part into PTGC. What happens when people actually are up on some of their other tokens, which it's nice to actually see some other tokens run, because I believe people will take gains from their riskier plays and then rotate into the store of value of the blockchain like PTGC or other great stores of value on the chain as well. There's more than just one. But I think PTGC will be one of those assets that people rotate the gains that they make in the riskier plays into, just like in real life. If you run across a good lump sum of money on a good job or so on and so forth, you usually rotate a portion of that value into assets or good stores of value to hedge yourself against inflation. Obviously, a lot of people also get a few toys with good money and stuff like that, but a portion of it does rotate into the premier asset classes, right? And PTGC is aiming to actually like become that. So we haven't had that take place yet. And then we haven't had an inflow of new value, of course. We haven't had PLS actually increasing, so our liquidity web increasing, and that dragging our price up. So there's just a lot of pieces of, like, PTGC is pretty much a math formula, but the main ingredient of it, or the main formula of this chemistry, whatever you want to call it, hasn't even been added in yet. and it's done this well. It's just because mathematically it makes sense, right? It's just math, just like how people used to sell Bitcoin. It's like, hey, do you believe in math? Well, then you believe in Bitcoin. But we just took like the parts that matter the most, tapping into the basic principles of supply and demand, and amplified those features, right? The features that people care about, the scarcity feature, the fact that the price appreciation feature, the liquidity feature, the APY built into the code feature. Like, these are the things that people want. People want to be paid for holding up the price of their asset. If they bring $5 million, $10 million into the store of value, they want to hear that that value, that product is becoming scarcer and scarcer every single day. And they want to know more of that deflationary supply is trickling into their wallet with every single transaction. This actually encourages them to stay longer, even if it's appreciating faster. You know, even if they're up X's, the people who are in the product today are here for speculation, but the people that are in this product 5 years from now are going to be here to store value. We're evolving over time, just like Bitcoin evolved, right? People were in Bitcoin for different reasons 10 years ago than they are in it today. I believe pTGC will have that same lifespan cycle as well.
Hey guys, I got to leave. I got a very important phone call to take. I'm going to have to get out of here. I appreciate everybody's information and helping me and learning and talking, and the conversation's been great. I appreciate everybody.
Thanks for dropping in, Tiger. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Tiger.
Yep.
I'll be back on a different day to learn more further. This is my favorite space, just to be clear, for many different reasons. So I will be back.
Cool. See you, Tiger.
Thanks for popping in.
You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you. Bye.
It's cool to hear. I love hearing that. Yeah, I think it's really cool that like some of you guys choose to spend your time here. I think that says a lot. When somebody really like spends their time doing something, that really shows like a conviction in it. So, like for the regulars, it's awesome.
I agree.
Any more of those Richard tweets we want to look at, Banana?
Let's
I know
have a
we're
look.
kind of jumping off topic a little bit, which is good. Probably going to fill up the whole space just going through those and talking about them.
Okay.
If anyone else wants to come up and add to the conversation, questions or comments, this space is for you guys. We're just kind of rambling to fill the time, but really we love the questions or conversations.
I have a question, and I think Alex Knob may have, and it's on YouTube, but I think he may have asked this on my stream yesterday. I got it written down, but I forgot to ask it. So he asked it on YouTube just now. How much UFO is available to buy? It's really stumped me. I know where to find out the available pTGC supply, but what about UFO?
UFOs is right at that same spot, just on the UFO part of the website. I'm looking to pTGC. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to go to it right now. I think it's around 10%.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going there right now.
I am. I'm in look into. Usually, I get the available supply from the Pulsechain. I'm gonna have to pivot and start getting it from here instead.
Yeah, Pulsechain for the pTGC side doesn't pick up some of the inactive pairs.
Right.
So the ones that don't have a lot of trading volume through them, in particularly some of the amplifier tokens and stuff like that. But looking to pTGC is a lot more accurate with this number. I think we're at like the high 2% of the supply is in pTGC. And then I think with UFO, if you go to UFO's tab, and then I think it's market something is the tab's name. Are you there?
I'm in the UFO metrics part.
Yeah. And then you click view something. Hold on.
Like show chart, view charts. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we got this figured out. You're gonna want not look at price, but at liquidity or pooled tokens.
Pooled tokens.
There you go. Okay. Pooled tokens. Yay. Okay, right now it looks like there are, Alex, 183.8 billion
Okay,
tokens.
yeah, so 18%.
Yeah.
18% of UFO supply is on the market.
Okay, so we got some buying to do, guys.
Which a lot of that's the reason is with pTGC, people buy and then just hold it. But with UFO, there's a large percentage of people who bought it and then just re-LP'd it back up, putting it back on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think you found a great product market fit on that one. Like, you nailed it, man. Because all those people had those tokens in their wallet anyways. And then you allowed me to be able to put to use. So it worked exactly as designed. And it was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's working. It's working really good for the people who took advantage of it early in UFO, to where what we're finding now, that especially that UFO share rates are more expensive, is it's making more sense for them just to buy UFO and hold it. But either way, that's cool, because the people who did adopt UFO early were able to take advantage of that opportunity, put some of their RH tickers to work, and they're earning PLS rewards off of it and increasing the value of the overall pTGC ecosystem, to where adopters today get to reap the rewards of the liquidity that these early people are putting up by just holding the UFO token. They don't even need to take the risk of LP provided.
It's pretty cool.
They can if they want. But
Yeah. So I know we get the question a lot of, why two coins, why pTGC and UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to speak to that just a little tiny bit. It's really just based on your investment mindset, your strategy, whether you're, you like to see protocol owned burn liquidity that can't be messed with, or if you're one to provide liquidity, you have your options, right? It's really just fits people's style, because everybody has a different style. Some people are LP providers, so just fits a different style.
Yes, indeed.
all right, back to the Richard tweets, Banana.
Okay. Give me a moment. I'll get it pulled up. I got to get off the look into. There's the one about the monitors. Did you want to read that one? If you have two monitors, your head is always... I don't think we need to read that one.
How are your monitors, Banana?
They are not in accordance with his instructions, with Richard's instructions.
I know. I always have my monitors too horizontal right on the side, and I completely agree. I have to position myself in the middle of them, and it really depends on what I'm working off of too. Like you said, for us, right, you're usually reading left to right. So if it's something I'm typing or doing Excel sheets, I'll put that on the right side because I'm working left to right. And then if I have something I'm more looking at visually, I'll keep that on the left side. So then I can sit myself somewhat in the middle of the screen.
Yep.
I can relate to it. But
I read a thing today that said if you have an even number of screens, like 2 screens or 4 screens, then you're always going to be looking either left or right at all times. But if you have an odd number of screens, like 3 screens, then you can be facing forward and not put that strain on your neck.
I think
I thought that was pretty cool.
About Richard's tweet? I think that's what Richard's tweet said.
Yep. Yep, pretty much.
It might have been something else, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're right-handed or something like that, it resonated with me because I usually I put my work on my right monitor, right, because that's where I do all my work, and it just works for everything to be on my right monitor. But if I put my legs up on my desk and I'm just chilling, I gotta move everything to the left monitor because that's the way my legs are facing. So thank you, Richard, for that conversation. Your tweet that led to that conversation.
That was his tweet. It had to have been his tweet, I guess.
It was 19 hours ago. Yeah, He's like a personal. He's a coach.
Yeah.
He's coaching his community. The one before that, the tweet before that was the German exit tax.
I think it's interesting that when he only had Hex, everybody was gatekeeping him. And like the SEC literally tried to stop him and lost. Right? That was what really happened. They tried to stop him and they lost. Total loss. So what does that mean now that Richard has kind of freedom of movement and he has an entire layer 1 instead of just Hex? Like it's a massive question mark for me because there's so many people that want to gatekeep him. And it's because he doesn't want them to take away from their market share.
Ty, just to be clear, the SEC went after Hex, Pulsechain, and PulseX and him.
Yeah, absolutely. They tried stopping him as much as they could. Yep.
Well, they're still Pulsechain's still not listed on any major exchanges.
Right.
Or I don't think it's listed on CoinMarketCap or anything like that, which is so I think there's still gatekeeping going on.
Yeah, I agree. I hope someday we get some kind of public exposure on exchanges and stuff.
There's been rumblings of a Binance listing. I keep seeing references to it, but who knows? I imagine we'll get listed on an exchange probably this cycle.
Yeah, we have to remember, exchanges are not in the game of speculating on discounts. They're in the game of what ecosystems have the most volume and volatility because they make money off of that, right?
Sure.
So I think I would still consider us a speculation. The people that are here are speculating that Pulsechain will become a top blockchain as far as price appreciation, volume, people needing to get the asset. We don't have that major adoption yet, but if we get that major adoption, I don't see a reason why they would keep gatekeeping because they would make money off of us at that point. If we grow to the size I think we can grow. We have to remember we have a chart that's pretty much down and to the right. I think we need to fix that first, and then they'll probably consider.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Because everybody that else I've heard talk about that has been like, oh, it's going to happen. They're saying that shipping containers are 3 weeks. So it's got to happen sometime before then. And I'm just you guys are out of your mind. I don't know.
What do you not see? I personally think price is going to start magically moving up here soon before the shipping containers.
Yeah.
Because I don't see a reason why, maybe not all the way up, or maybe it moves faster than you think, but I don't see a reason why you would advertise a blockchain that's down and to the right. I think you would advertise a thriving blockchain where the community's happy and winning and excited for the future.
Right, which would imply somewhere above SAC rate.
I would think so. Yeah, that would be my guess. Obviously, I've been completely wrong on my price speculation with Pulsechain to date. I definitely didn't think 2 years plus we were going to be down here. But I kind of just look at things like if I was to do a massive marketing campaign and I was funding it personally and I had the means to make sure my community was in good spirits when new people started looking and my chart was in good spirits, and it took very little amount of economic energy, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't help it out. Even if that's not helping it out with the main sacrifice wallet, if that's helping it out behind, with hidden wallets or whatever, right? This would make the most sense. That's just how I look at things. He might have a bigger plan or so on and so forth. Who knows? But, to change morale and to make the price chart look a little bit better, like we were just talking about, Ty, it takes very little amount of economic energy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I wish him the best, man. I hope he, it sounds like he has a plan, right? So, I'm just hoping in him, trusting that he's going to come through, and really like come out as like somebody who's actually going to put like their best effort into this. Right. I think that's what we're probably going to actually witness is Richard's best effort, whatever that amounts to.
Yes. And why? Because we can't imagine Richard doing anything but his best effort. So Paul Sachs and I were doing a little experiment in the chat. He got the bottom beginning price for pTGC. Do you guys want to know what the top price would be for a 1 billion X? Anybody care to know?
I want to know. I don't want to guess though.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not going to ask you to guess. If anybody wants to guess, you can guess. But so the bottom price that he was able to determine is 7 zeros, 1693. And I don't suppose many people scooped it up at that price, let alone held it. I tip my hat to you if you did. So, but nevertheless, 7 zeros, 1693 times 1 billion is $16.93. So $17. That's our target. Let's do it. 1 billion X, guys. $17.
That's the pTGC target?
Yeah.
For 1 billion?
Yeah, that's what we'd have to. Yeah. If you went, you'd have to go from the very, very bottom. I mean, we're talking like, we got this idea from B Roots. He's like, I think this could be the first 1 billion X token. Well, that means it would be $16.93, which is a huge ask, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's a little nuance to the math on the moon math because it depends on your entry date, like you just mentioned. And it depends on how many X's pTGC does over Pulse. So,
I mean, I think that the total crypto market cap, I think I saw it today, was like $4 trillion. And I'm sure $16.93 would put a pTGC way over that.
That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to even talk about a number like that, right? Like, I remember when we were back like, oh, yeah, let's hit a penny. And we're still there, I guess. But I remember when we were like, let's hit a $1 million market cap, $10 million market cap. That was funny. And like Amanda was talking about like how long it took to get there and the grind and remembering what that was like.
Yeah. A lot of grinding.
A lot of grinding.
A lot of complaining. A lot of selling. A lot of buying. Ups and downs. Up the stairs, down the elevator. All that stuff, right? Boring. Sometimes exciting. And then you finally hit $1 million market cap.
Yeah. I mean, we've been waiting for 2 years. And it sounds like here in the next several weeks, we should start seeing something. So that's awesome. I think it's going to get really lively. I think a lot of people are going to start doing spaces, and instead of seeing 200 in the spaces, we're going to see like 2,000, 3,000 in the spaces.
Yeah. I mean, look at Tiger Crypto God. He's going to be holding seminars tomorrow, man. He's an animal. And I keep hearing of these big name people coming onto Pulsechain.
Oh, wow.
I mean, last week it was a Latino looking gentleman. This week it was a white female with like, she has like, I don't know, 58,000 followers on X.
Right. That's super cool. Yeah, I mean, for those listening, not only are you early on pTGC, but pTGC is early to the chain. So pTGC and UFO got here before the major wave of new projects onboarding. And every single one of those future projects that onboards is going to pump the chain. And so the fact that we got here before them just means more access for us. And I think that's just another dynamic, another way of, it's just another cool thing that's unique to this.
Yep, PTDC, the PTDC DAO is able to scoop up those cheap Pulsechain assets at the bottom of the chain, brand new chain.
You keep talking about the DAO. I couldn't agree more, Banana. It's such a game changer that it turned out to be Zen. Really,
yeah,
I
think we've probably added in the last week or two $80,000 more with Hex in LP.
what's that? I haven't been following Hex, but it's still under a penny, right?
It's right above a penny.
Right above. Okay.
1.2 pennies or something like that. But I think some of that was scooped even below a penny, also, just because it was moving up while we're buying in. Really, just the idea of it is like, hey, like the honest truth is this might be the last week to scoop any of those RH tickers and get them in LP before it becomes some sort of a go time for RH's assets. And personally, when everything's moving up, I think for the DAO, it's better for us to focus on buy and burns and stuff. No need to chase those assets, especially if we have very, very large pairings with them already. So we're kind of looking at it like, hey, it might be go time in the next 2 weeks. Right now might be the time to get some last minute LPs in before we shift to buy and burns for a little bit. And then obviously when prices get a little higher, we'll have to switch to some stable coin LPs and stuff like that to help sustain the growth after we get it. But yeah, I do think that, doing one last scoop up of those assets that I believe are going to get marketed in that marketing push that Richard's doing makes a lot of sense. And then that helps PTGC's growth, that helps back PTGC's price. Then we can focus pretty heavily on our buy and burns. So when new money is flowing into the chain, we have buy and burns going on, which is obviously pretty attention grabbing. If the chain's cooking, then we could be doing $50,000 to $100,000 buy and burns every few days, and that will help onboard obviously the PTGC. And then once we get to levels that we're happy with, or Pulsechain is at levels we're happy with, we can make a transition to stable coin LPs or stable coin reserves, getting ourselves prepared for, the bear market, which we have to always, take into consideration things that go up a lot do come down. But definitely with what PTGC has and how it's set up, we have the ability to pivot with the market cycles and adjust our system accordingly to get ready for the next bear and then be prepared for the next bull, making it so we're a multi-cycle system. And what we've seen is multi-cycle systems are the systems that do the most amount of X's. So if we want this to actually become a premier store of value, making it to the next bull cycle is very important.
Along with our connected assets as well, they have to survive too. So that's just hope that they all survive, right? Like most, and I hope they all survive.
Yeah, a lot of the speculative ones aren't burned, right? So we do have the ability to pivot out of some of the more speculative ones near higher points in the bull market, which I think is a plan in store for our ecosystem. We do have the ones like Richard's tickers that we have burned and aren't moving to stables at all, but we do have some more speculative ones that we can rotate if need be.
How long has the pTGC UFO LP been over $4 million? It seems like I looked up the other day and it was suddenly over $4 million, and I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a good example of how big LP pools can get, even with not that much value in them, just when both the assets are moving up. We have to keep in mind, like, with all the other LP pools, for the most part, both assets haven't moved up drastically. pTGC has moved up drastically, and UFO has moved up pretty drastically. But everything else, so that's why that LP pool is so big, is because both those assets have actually been moving up together. So that's, a great example of why I'm so excited for Richard's tickers to start moving up with this. So then those LP pools can start to kind of, pull their own weight, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Just needed you to explain it, I guess.
Yeah, this is the same thing that happened with PDI, right? We didn't even have much PDI LP. We had a good chunk, but not like anywhere near the Richard tickers. But since PDI moved up drastically, it became our alpha pool in our system. And I'm excited for, I would be super stoked to see one of Richard's tickers really become one of our alpha pools for multiple reasons, right? Like Pulsechain, if that was a big mover this cycle. I love the sustainability of Pulsechain. Like, I love that every single transaction is buying and burning that asset. And I think what's happening with it is just a coiling effect. I think sellers are getting out, and obviously the debt address is accumulating a large supply of that token. And I think also when this chain starts to move, this isn't just Pulsechain, but I think a lot of sell pressure is coming within the next 10Xs. But after we get through like a 10X, I think we're going to be left with a lot of diamond hands people. I think we have some sell pressure going through this 10X with the RH assets, just people who are exhausted and just want to be in profits and kind of take some money off the table and get out. But then whatever they have left, I think they're willing to let that ride quite a long time.
Yeah, I've heard several people over the last 24 hours, in these ETH spaces talking about they're just looking for a 10X, or they're looking for 6 figures. And as soon as it hits that mark, they sell. And that's their vision, so pretty short-sighted, but that's their strategy. Everybody's different, right? So,
and we want them to be liquid, because then when they're liquid and they hear about pTGC and UFO, they can just come right on over.
Yeah, but all the same people are going to be the ones that are going to be crying when it tops, when pTGC tops the cycle. They're going to be like, why did I ever sell that?
Yeah. Yep. I think there's going to be a lot of people selling, going down into the next bar. I think a lot of people, it just all depends on your age and your time horizon and your outlook on life. But, like the longer your time horizon, if you can think beyond this bull cycle and even into the next bull cycle, you're more likely to hang on to your bags. But if all you can think about is a Lambo and, getting a Lambo at the top of this cycle, then yeah. They're gonna provide a lot of volatility, though, which will be great for the holders.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's several. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and when people sell tokens, honestly, then other people that are waiting to buy them can buy them for cheaper. So it's a win-win.
You know what I just thought about, Banana? Just like you had mentioned, where locking gives you token quantity. So does the unstake, the 1% unstake, that is also in token quantity. And so that has a magnificent effect when we're talking about PTGC be worth them stupid amounts of money, right? So
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's going to be cool, because imagine how many people are going to be unstaking to sell that. But that 1% is going to be powerful, man.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, man. Yeah,
I just realized that, honestly.
Just now?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm still learning. Since the beginning, but I'm still learning.
One of the profound things that I realize is that when somebody emergency ends their lock, they're going to do something with those tokens. They got plans for them. They're going to move them to another wallet. They're going to sell them. Okay, so the emergency unlock, they pay a 30% penalty, which goes to all the other lockers. That's 30%. And then they got to sell the tokens. And that's and then that's a 1% that goes to all the stakers and 1% that goes to all the holders. And then before they do that, they have to unstake. That's a 1%. So
based on token quantity, yeah.
So the unlock 30%, unstake 1%, sell 5%, 36%. 36% of their bag. If every time somebody unlocks, you can bet they're nuking 36% total of their whole bag.
Right.
Which goes to all the other holders and LP and the DAO and all that. So it works out in the end.
We'll have a lot more data at the end of the cycle. In the next bear market, we're going to have plenty of time to go over data. I think that's going to be a really interesting data point, was like how many of those locks came unlocked at the top.
Yeah, I'm tracking it, dude. Every month I'm tracking the total pTGC unlocked, and then how much is going to each 1 million tokens that are locked. It's a pretty, I don't know if you've seen, like Zen and I will stream at the end of August, early September, and we'll go over the whole month's of August data, and we'll compare it to previous months. And it's pretty insightful, dude. And I'm with you, man. As we go up in the cycle and we have more volume and more activity, those monthly data sessions will just be that much more exciting to look at. Yeah. Well, Zen.
We're 2 hours deep now. I don't think we're finishing Richard's tweets.
I think that'll be okay, Zen. He'll tweet some more and we'll cover those ones.
Yeah, we'll cover it on Saturday. Yeah, I'm pretty good to shut it down if you guys are.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Appreciate you coming in, Ty.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm doing a lot more of these. Just trying to get comfortable with it before we get a super massive amount of people in here. Yeah, so it's cool. Not trying to be an influencer or anything like that. I'm just trying to get comfortable.
It takes practice.
Yeah,
it does. I'm one of those guys that needs the practice.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in, Ty, and just adding to the conversation. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, I think, for me and Banana having more people to talk with, and it's more enjoyable for the speakers too. So thanks for coming up.
Yeah,
for the speakers to the listeners. Sorry, for the listeners.
Yeah, and it's just on that one for the listeners. Like, don't be shy. This is a different atmosphere. Like, your question won't get shot down. You'll probably get an answer. So I encourage you to ask questions.
Cool, guys. Well, I'm going to shut it down. Next Spaces is Saturday at 8 a.m. 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And tomorrow I have a VC in our Telegram at 3 p.m. So if any of you have a question that you don't want to ask on a public recorded Spaces that's blasted on YouTube, and you want more of a private conversation that's non-recorded, I do those VCs in the Telegram twice a week. Tomorrow there's one at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bring your question in there. Or if you just want to listen, if no one's asking questions, I just go over some of the statistics as well for pTGC and UFO to fill the time. So.
And I will be doing a complete ecosystem walkthrough Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Everybody go vote at plsfolio.com. You can do it twice a day, plsfolio.com, and vote for both pTGC and UFO. But if you had to pick just one, this is not a 50-50. Either both or UFO. UFO needs the most love.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming up. Thanks, Ty. Thanks, Banana. I'm gonna shut it down.
All right. See you then.
See you guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was our spaces for Monday, August 11th. Yay. It was good, man. It was really good. That was fun figuring out the number of X's. A billion X, $16.93. Let's go. I don't know what would the LP be at that thing, you know? It just, I'll probably try to figure it out tomorrow, and it would blow up crypto. It'd be too much. Probably more value than there is gold in the whole world or something. All right, guys. Have a good night. Get some rest. We'll see you back at it tomorrow.